Have you ever asked yourself this question? Where did Cain's wife come from? If Adam and Eve were the first humans, then who did Cain marry? Some people say there must have been other races. Some say Cain found another civilization in the land of Nod. Others even use this to attack the Bible, saying, "See, it doesn't make sense." But the truth is simple, and it is found in the Word of God. Genesis 4 tells us, Cain went out from the presence of the Lord and lived in the land of Nod, and Cain knew his wife, and she conceived. People read this and think, wait, where did this wife come from? Weren't there only Adam, Eve, Cain, and Abel? Here is the answer. Genesis 5:4 explains Adam had other sons and daughters. The Bible only highlights the main names, like Cain, Abel, and Seth, because they matter to the bigger story of salvation. But Adam and Eve had many children. Cain's wife was one of them, a sister, or perhaps a niece. This was not sin at the time. Why? Because humanity's genetic code was still pure. There was no corruption, no mutations, no danger of deformity. Only later, when sin spread and human DNA weakened, God gave the laws in Leviticus 18 forbidding marriage between close relatives. But in the beginning, it was part of God's plan to multiply the earth. And what about the land of Nod? Doesn't that mean Cain found another people? No, the Hebrew word Nod means wandering or exile. It was not the name of a nation. It was the place of Cain's judgment, the land of the wanderer. So Cain's wife is not a mystery. She was simply one of the many children of Adam and Eve. But maybe you are asking yourself a deeper question. What about science? What about the fossils of so-called early humans? What about the theory of evolution? Science tells us that life began in the ocean, that some creature crawled onto the land, evolved, and slowly became what we now call humans. That humans are just the result of millions of years of chance. And yes, fossils exist, bones of creatures that look part human, part ape. Scientists call them hominids, and many people believe these are our ancestors. But here is the difference. The Bible never says Adam and Eve were the only living creatures. It says they were the first humans created in the image of God. That is the key. Not every creature that walked on two legs was a human. Being human is not about shape. Being human is about essence. It is about carrying the breath of God. Genesis 2:7 says, God formed man from the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. That is the difference. Without the breath of God, it is only dust. With the breath of God, it becomes humanity. Some Christian scholars, like Rodrigo Silva, suggest something interesting. That perhaps some children of Adam and Eve carried genetic variations. They did not fully bear the image of God. They spread around the world. And today, scientists look at their remains and say, here is the missing link. But they are not our ancestors. They are not proof of evolution. They are only branches of humanity that did not carry the divine purpose. And no, God did not experiment. He does not try and fail. He creates with purpose. He declared it from the beginning. It was good. So what people call early humans are not God's mistakes. They are simply creatures that look human in form, but not in essence. Because being human is not being half ape, half man. Being human is carrying the image of God. And what about dinosaurs? The Bible does not use the modern word dinosaur. But in Job 40 and 41, it describes creatures called Behemoth and Leviathan, massive, powerful, unlike anything we see today. So the Bible is not silent. It simply uses the language of its own time. So let us put all this together. Cain's wife was not a stranger. She was a daughter of Adam and Eve. The land of Nod was not another nation. It was the place of his exile. The fossils of strange creatures do not prove evolution. They only prove that life on Earth is complex. But true humanity began when God breathed his spirit into man. That is what science cannot measure. That is what bones cannot explain. That is what no fossil will ever reveal. So when people ask, was Cain's wife proof of contradiction? Were early humans proof of evolution? The answer is clear, no. Because Genesis 3:20 says, Eve was the mother of all living. All, not some, not part, all. Cain's wife proves the Bible is consistent. The fossils prove only that dust returns to dust. But you are not dust alone. You carry the breath of God, and that is what makes you human. That is what gives you value. That is what gives you eternal purpose. Cain's wife is not a contradiction. Evolution is not your story. You are the image of God. If you're ready to rise again in faith and truth, subscribe now and never walk alone. Follow for more to rise again.